Yeah, I mean, last 20 years, I probably worked on at least a dozen disasters, big scale. This is one of the worst ones, actually. And just the way how the buildings collapse, just total collapse in a fairly large area, you know, and many people suffered. And that's definitely it's this is really one of the worst ones I've seen. It's really comparable to something I saw in Turkey in 2023 and Sichuan, China in 2008. Well, I think a lot to do with how the buildings are built. Now, this country has really good engineers, by the way. Okay, really, good educations and all that, right? And do have a good building codes. But building code changed in around the 1985 to 1990. So after that, become the very strict seismic guidelines started happening. That's true in every country, by the way. It's about the same for pretty much globally. About mid 1980s, changed that. So which means anything built prior to mid 1980s, there's no seismic consideration. This is true in Turkey, true in Japan. Even the US, anything built like before 1980 is really dangerous, So it's not like a isolated case here. So that's a lot to do with the older buildings. And second thing is also this global phenomenon, the inspection, that inspection of by the engineers, they're actually really important. And that doesn't happen here much. And that actually makes a huge difference, Turkey, 2023 earthquake, that destroyed about 200,000 buildings, killed 50,000 people. And similar kind of earthquake, magnitude 7.8, 7.8, it's a little bigger, but it's a very similar kind of thing, back-to-back earthquake, And it's same thing, same issue they had is just like here, older buildings, and also newer construction has no inspection, So Turkey changing that, of course. So I think it will happen here too. I think, such a tragic event. I mean, it's really tragic stuff happening here. But opportunities you're going to see is the engineers, or obviously engineers always, and about contractors, they, especially like laborers, they want to know how to do right. Actually, that's more important. Because I saw many buildings collapse completely, newer construction, and I saw like 98% right. A lot of steel in there, a lot of rebar in there, there's good concrete, but little things missing. For example, this one building is completely collapsed. Down end, supposedly that rebar, the steel in a concrete column, should be long like this embedded into the foundation, but it's very short. Everything else is right, except that little piece. So it's not like a contractor is trying to cheat anything, just they don't know how important those little thing is. So earthquakes are very different from other disasters, like a hurricane. If you build 80% right, it's okay actually. But earthquake conditions, if you build 90% right, it doesn't quite work. So how to do that? I think government alone can help this situation. It's all coming down to capacity of not only just the engineers, but the masons and laborers, subcontractors. And that's going to be something that we're going to be really focused on it, so-called knowledge, capacity building of the smaller contractors and masons and stuff like that. That will make a huge impact, by the way. Earthquake engineering is kind of like that. It's little details matters, actually. You can put same amount of steel, same amount of concrete. Like for example, that I saw all the buildings has this, like a pillar, like this, right? This column, we call column there. And there's a rebar inside, the long bar, long steel. And there's a little hoop you're gonna see around it, If that hoop is tied in, embedding like this piece is going to the concrete, it stay there when it's moving it. But if you don't bend like this, leave like this, it'll pop up and the whole thing goes. You see little things like that. Little things that makes a huge impact. Really subtle actually. But I see many countries going through this thing, by the way, and it makes a big differences, after just this kind of things. I don't say it's good for the country, but it's good for the really the change the how people see it. I mean, last earthquake here is almost 60 years ago, right? People kind of forget about it, but now it's like a real. This is an earthquake country, no question. But remember, this is not very specific to this country. Everywhere it's true. Even in California, where I live, okay? Last earthquake was 30 years ago. People in LA think, oh, there's no earthquake here anymore. It's no problem. We're gonna have some serious issue there, okay? I'm a California Seismic Safety Commissioner, and I try to make this more resilient as much as possible in California. But it's difficult because people think, oh, it's okay, So it's definitely that's why I say right now there is the opportunity to make more resilient, because we're serious here, everybody's serious here now. Yeah, usually, generally speaking, okay, not all the time, generally speaking, you have about 5 years window. After something happens, 5 years per country you will remember, do some stuff, right? After a while, it's just kind of fading down. So that 5 years right now is really important to have the, especially like actual doing things like a seismic strengthening of existing buildings. You can actually make the existing building, even older ones, you can make it safe. Even really poor country like Haiti. I mean, they are really, after 15 years now, after that 2010 earthquake in Haiti, which killed like 300,000 people, by the way. Even today, they're very serious about earthquake protection systems. So if Haiti does have some mid-rise, high-rise buildings, when they do that, they are seriously doing the inspections, using the latest technologies to the systems, So I'm sure this country will come same way. So just a little bit about our company. Miyamoto International, we are a global engineering and a disaster risk management company. And we're a social enterprise, by the way. So currently, we have a contract with the US State Department, but that's non-profit basis. We don't get no profit from there. But they help us to be out here to, compose a team. Essentially, our job here is to, first of all, understand what happened, how much damage there, and how actually be able to service the people, For example, I mean, destroyed area is one thing, but even if you see the whole area, there's an ocean, there's a beach front, many high-rise building collapse, right? Go up the hill, there are smaller houses there. And you look at it, it seems like there's no damage. But they're in a sense, forgotten a little bit. They're a working class neighborhood up there, And many houses has cracks. So yesterday, our team and myself just walking through the neighborhood. Everybody say, please come to my house. Take a look. What's these cracks? What's going on? So we have to explain to them what this means, how to fix it, and they're so appreciative of it, I mean, they feel they're kind of neglected because most of the attention went to the disaster area. But disaster not only there, disasters are everywhere. And they also lost their jobs. Their jobs are down there, gone, right? So I think it's very important to get the reconstruction moving fast as possible so it can create the jobs, I think that's very important, actually. So to me, my job is here to really bring in both the successes and the failures from all the things that happen in many different countries, from Japan to US to Haiti to, to Nepal to everywhere, all the things people went through. There are certain things some countries done right, some really didn't. But if you do right, actually, you can make that reconstruction goes much faster, not only to the particular people who lost homes, but also the whole economy around it, So that's my job. Okay, 3 things. I think that's what we try to do. One is the really important part of it is the helping people much as possible. But there's a limited resources, obviously, right? And I think one thing I do notice that all those people live up in that, especially hills, they they need information. They want to know what happened to their houses. They want to know if those cracks is safe or unsafe. They want to know how to fix it. So communication is very important, and also communication, and also give information how to repair it. Because most of repairs are actually pretty simple. You can make a structure not only repair and make it better, stronger actually. So that type of training and communication is a really critical thing. That's very important. Number one, that's something we're going to be working on that. And second thing is that waterfront destroyed area. Need to really understand. Obviously, we're actually looking right now. Some buildings obviously completely collapsed, right? Some are still standing, but maybe tilting like this. So we need to identify that so-called what we call black buildings, and quantify how much debris exists, which can be done. Both use a satellite, just be on the field. We can manage how much debris exists. That's very important. And also understand that how difficult to take the building. Some buildings are extremely technical to take the building down. So how many exist? Second, in the same block, identify that the buildings which just have a superficial damages. I notice a lot of it like that too. Just no structural damages. Looks pretty bad. Actually, damages basically architectural, components of it. So need to identify that and quantify that what it takes to repair it. Thirdly, believe it or not, there are actually green tag buildings, which means that no damage at all. Okay, so need to identify that. So in that zone, need to identify three kinds like that, quantify it. Then make sure that have the geotechnical understanding, because you notice that some parts has no damage, some are damaged a lot, right? So especially that a lot of damaged area, really understand what it's underneath of the soil, because anything can be built, by the way. Anything can be built if we know what's going on and what kind of construction has to be done. Not yet. We've been here for 4 days. But that will be definitely a part of this thing. And also that we've been talking to Japanese team too, Japanese government in the next couple of days. So to understand exactly what they did, how they can use the information data in the past. Most likely we have to do some new study too a little bit. But remember, Kobe in Japan, that earthquake happened in 1994. Japan went through the same thing, It's similar kind of terrain, right on the waterfront.
You're an island.
Hmm?
You're an island.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so and also the beachfront and mountains, very similar kind of layout as that down there, La Guaira area. And it killed 6,000 people. Destroyed tens of thousand buildings there. But today, if you go there, there are 50-story high-rise buildings on the same spot. And one of the things that Japan did, something maybe it's applicable here potentially, is the land to basically some redevelopment corporation, can be built, and that could be funded by certain sources, some funds, that could be potentially purchased the land and redeveloped, then sell that to some different investors. That's kind of Japan did back in 1994.
Okay.
Japanese government made it easier for developers from Tokyo and Osaka to buy the land and develop. So people who lost their homes, they actually were becoming owners of those very expensive condo, by the way, So there are many examples like that out there. It all depends. I mean, this country has an opportunity. I really feel it, I really do. I mean, there's changes happening now, I mean, this is such a tragic event, but it could be triggered, massive investment could happen here, by the way. And I didn't know that the war was behind you. I know that one. American government is extremely serious for people here, So is Japanese too, so do many other countries. And you have something that the other people don't have. You have a very robust diaspora groups out there, very robust. And I know they really care about country here, Actually, my local partners here is not only the local here, but also the Sama diaspora actually, So I think that's to me like opportunity to really get things going, I don't know.
We hope so.
I think that would happen though. I really do. I mean, again, this country has a great engine capacity here already, right?
Yeah.
They know how to build self buildings. They don't need me, trust me, okay? But we can bring in what happened in the past and what worked, what didn't, that's I can share with. But they had a great engine capacity and everything else. So just that little trigger moments. We lost 1,000 people, obviously. Who knows what is the total loss would it be? I mean, it must be a big number, And I mean, no, it's a hard thing. I mean, I personally worked on a 2017 Mexico earthquake to assist the urban citizen rescue team. So I was one of the structural engineers to essentially help them make sure when they go into the building, that safe condition exists and how to make it safe. And I go with them, And it's a really, I don't know, horrifying thing. And I see all the families around it. They're waiting for us, waiting for me. Come out and see if we will find the families. And that was almost like 3 weeks after. So we all know we're not going to find anyone alive, It's way after. But all of us are trying so hard to get to that person. Actually, that was my, that's our Mexican partner. Yeah, we haven't met with Mexico. So yeah, that's the Chewy. Yeah, he was here like a day after. And he actually will come back a couple of days from now. But he was in there. And actually his team did save that person.
Yeah, I saw Hernan Hill, right? It was the name. Okay.
So it's definitely, I think to me like a respect would be to make it stronger, more violent, safe. To me that's respect.